Our holy God. Even though we are able to enter God's awesome presence because of Christ's sacrificial death, we are to remember that we are worshiping a holy God. Here's Gene.
Love this passage in Joshua chapter 5, verses 13 to 15. When Joshua was near Jericho, and of course they're going to attack Jericho according to the will of God. When Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and he saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua approached him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" At this point in time, he's seeing this man as just purely human, a soldier. It's an interesting response. "Neither," he replied. "I have now come as commander of the Lord's army." In other words, I'm not leading the charge here against the Canaanites. I am not on the side of the enemy. What he in essence is saying, I'm God. And that's the point you want to understand. And he goes on to say, then Joshua bowed with his face to the ground in worship. He recognizes here that he's face to face with God in human flesh. I don't think he understood it totally, but he's worshiping. And he asked him, "What does my Lord want to say to his servant?" And here we have a very interesting response. The commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And why was that place holy? Because God was revealing himself in this Old Testament manifestation of Jesus Christ. This is the angel of the Lord. Anytime in the Old Testament you see the phrase, the angel of the Lord, not an angel, but the angel of the Lord, most times it is an Old Testament manifestation of Jesus Christ, the pre-incarnate Christ. That's a powerful, powerful statement. See, Jesus Christ has always existed. John says, in the beginning was the Word. Who was the Word? The Word who became flesh. Jesus Christ is revealing himself. God is revealing himself through this Old Testament manifestation. We call this a theophany in the Old Testament, a theophany, a reflection or a representation, really, of God in human flesh. And so here we have an illustration of this, which really takes us back to Moses and the burning bush in Exodus 3:5, where God is speaking to Moses from this burning bush and says, "Do not come closer. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." And here again, we see God revealing himself to Joshua, encouraging him just as he encouraged Moses when he called him to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. That continuity, I think, is very important in understanding what God is doing here from Moses to Joshua as Moses' successor. It's interesting that this concept of holiness goes from Genesis to Revelation. If you go to the New Testament, 1 Peter chapter 1, where Peter is writing, he says, "As obedient children, do not be conformed to the desires of your former ignorance, but as the one who called you is holy, you also are to be holy in all your conduct. For it is written, 'Be holy, because I am holy.'" The word holy comes from the same basic word as the word sanctified. And if you look at the whole concept of the New Testament, when we are called by God, we become his children. We're positionally made holy, positionally sanctified. God sees us as perfect through Jesus. We're not perfect, but God sees us as perfect because of his shed blood that covers our past sins, our present sins, our future sins. God sees us as holy. That's positional holiness, positional sanctification. But once we become believers, we're to become progressively more like God, progressively more like Jesus Christ. That we call progressive sanctification, progressive holiness, which is something we'll go on until we're taken to be with the Lord. Then we shall see him as he is, because we are now transformed totally into his image. That is ultimate sanctification. We will be in his presence. Positionally sanctified, progressively sanctified, that's God's will, and then ultimately sanctified in his holy presence. Now, the question is, what steps should we take as Christians to conform our lives more and more to God's holiness? And I don't think there's a more beautiful passage in Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. We keep going back to this. It's so significant. When Paul wrote and said, "Therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, in view of what God's done for you, I urge you, present your bodies as a living sacrifice." See, Jesus died for us as the perfect sacrifice. Now we are to be living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. The way we live, our body, the members of our body, the totality of who we are to present ourselves to God. And notice, this is your spiritual worship. This is our worship to God. This is the ultimate in worship. Worship is not just something we do when we get together and we sing and praise God. Worship in God's sight is how we live every moment of every day, as individuals and as members of the body of Jesus Christ. Paul goes on to say, taking the steps that we need to be able to carry this out, do not be conformed to this age or this world. Don't be like this world, but be transformed. Transformation is continual. It's ongoing until we're like Jesus Christ. Don't be conformed to this world or this age. Be transformed by the renewing of our mind. This is how it takes place. And as this process works, then we'll be able to discern what is a good, pleasing, and the perfect will of God. And we have a principle here that comes out of this whole passage in Romans. I call it Christ-centered worship. In view of God's mercy, we are to humbly acknowledge his sovereign grace and worship him by offering all parts of our body as a living sacrifice. So going back to Joshua's experience and the principle that comes from this passage, let me state it again. Principle 10, our holy God. Even though we're able to enter God's awesome presence, and we can, because of Jesus, any moment we can go into his presence, something the Old Testament people were not able to do. But because of Jesus, the great high priest, even though we're able to enter God's awesome presence because of Christ's sacrificial death, we are to remember that we are worshiping a holy God. Peter says, "Be holy as I'm holy." It's a process, but with God's help, we can become more and more like Jesus Christ.